We're here in San Antonio getting a tour of several companies.
A technology company speed dating. It's awesome.
It's awesome, isn't it?
You never knew so many technology companies were here in San Antonio.
I didn't actually until Robles called me up and said, "Hey, you got to see all these."
That's outstanding. That's outstanding.
And we actually got a little tour of your company yesterday.
It was great to have you.
Yeah, thank you. And tell me, who are you?
I'm Frank Robles, CEO of Neopolitan Networks.
Yeah. And what do you do?
Neopolitan is a communication service provider. And so with our own infrastructure, we get fiber in the ground, we purchase it, we put it in the ground, and connect to buildings, providing communications, connections to the internet, connecting buildings to one another. Pretty straightforward type of service. The innovation is doing it using Ethernet. Where we can't use fiber, we extend with fixed wireless microwave. We originally deployed these networks in the Bay Area, primarily Palo Alto, then Santa Clara. Since then, we've extended to San Francisco, covering most of the peninsula.
So you used to live in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I just moved here from Palo Alto.
Why did you leave the Bay Area?
My wife loves San Antonio. This is the story you heard a little bit earlier about how great this environment is. My wife really wanted to move here, and there's a lot of opportunity here.
And Graham, who's the chairman of the board of Rackspace, was showing me around. He goes, "Hey, you know these houses we just passed by? They're $100,000 each." I was like, I could buy 9 of them.
Yeah, some people do. Some whole families move to a whole neighborhood. It happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and we're here in the Rackspace headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Is Rackspace one of your customers?
They are.
So
Graham's a long-time friend too.
You lay fiber down from your because you have a little phone switch. No, little is a.
It's not really phone. It's actually for Ethernet communications.
Yeah.
So we actually connect some other data centers as well. There's lots of other companies.
Yeah.
And we also manage CityNet. You saw CityNet yesterday. So Neopolitan manages CityNet. I own CityNet separately. Because with the fiber, we actually connect to multiple data centers. So this diagram gives you kind of a shot of that.
Yeah.
Where we have fiber to the ground connected to multiple buildings. Some of those buildings are data centers.
Yeah. So you have a screenshot up here.
Right.
So tell me, maybe even walk over there and show me what's going on here.
Well, we have fiber already in the ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to extend it a little bit or fix some patches to make it a ring to connect the dots. And then we connect that fiber to buildings where we deploy Ethernet. Instead of telephone company architecture, we deploy Ethernet and keep everything layered to Ethernet. And that's where the performance comes from. And where fiber doesn't reach, we extend with microwave. We use proprietary microwave from Motorola primarily to extend that Ethernet connection to buildings that aren't close to fiber that aren't economical. So in places where we just can't get fiber to, we just can't get wireless to, we'll lease lines from other carriers. So interconnection agreements with other carriers, and we'll lease that line just to bring all the pieces together. Just to give an integrated service, a solution to our customers. In some places where we want to go between cities, we'll do long haul, we'll lease long haul lines to go between cities. And that's something else I shared with you. We just did a press release for a service we call Neo Matrix, where we're connecting all these buildings together. That's all great in the city, but what if I want to go to multiple cities? Well, we've solved that. Where we have connections going across the country to multiple cities. And we announced 18 data centers in the United States that we're connected to Ethernet. Yeah. So it's kind of an outstanding service, whereas you used to pay for T1 to go between locations. You just pay us a couple $100 and it's Ethernet, plug and play, you're done.
Well, come back on over here. So the reason you need that connection, right, is for redundancy. You don't want all your data center in San Francisco because if there's a huge earthquake and it knocks everything off.
Exactly.
You want your data also.
Well, we have DR sites. We connect lots of DR sites together, and also companies that have multiple offices where they want to distribute information, do video conferencing, do voice over IP. We support all of that over our network.
Yeah. And that's becoming more and more important. Rocky and I had a little preview of the Cisco telepresence system, which is 3 HD screens in this room, right? Well, that stuff sprays a lot of bits.
So we've been doing that for a long time, actually, where we would just have nailed up connections with video conferencing between our own offices. And the thing that people don't seem to realize sometimes is all that's Ethernet, all the stuff in your LAN, all the stuff that you produce, the video stuff, and also a lot of the medical imaging equipment now is standard Ethernet data. So then what do you do with it? most people connect it to the telephone company's network, which is key on Ethernet. So by keeping Ethernet, it's a tremendous, about double the efficiency. So you get a lot more of what you're paying for. It's a great solution. This is our network operations center, so we keep track of our network elements, not just here in this center, but around the country for Neopolitan, our main operating company. Well, we have hundreds of elements that we're tracking. These guys log into devices, servers, switches normally, and routers, where the network is distributed between the data centers and around the country, and make sure everything's working. They might have to trace a problem. They might have to work with other telephone companies if there is a problem, to chase it down and solve it. But that's generally what happens, the knock, all the time.
So let's say the West Coast had a major earthquake and some of the data centers went down. What would be going on right now?
Well, some of the stuff would turn red. We actually keep track of the earthquakes and the weather here as well. So we would get alarms, and then we would react to the problem. Some of the traffic we can actually move off. Some of it we can't, and we'll work with the local authorities or local people, because we have people local in the various locations in California or Florida, as an example, to resolve any issues that we could.
Do you have any guess in a major earthquake how much infrastructure would stay up around the world?
We've been through several major earthquakes and hurricanes, because we have stuff again all over. Florida, of course, we've gone through several hurricanes. Most of it stays up, very little of it, and then our networks are built in rings generally, so there's a failover capability. So if one part actually is damaged, it goes the other way. Or a lot of the distribution locations, like data centers, we have generator power, so we have backup power. So again, that keeps us safe. Very little is go down, and then we actually have a lot in California, of course. Suffers lots of earthquakes, typically not a problem. But luckily, again, it's built in rings, and we try to localize them as much as possible, so relatively small rings. So usually there's not a problem. There's a failover capability.
So what else do they do here?
That's pretty much it. Switches, routers, monitoring, following up on circuits, and that's a job in itself.
Cool. Well, thank you for giving us a little tour of the NOC. And thanks for giving us a tour of your data center and your plant. It's really great.